Everyone comes to DC to make movies, but what about all the artists that already live here? Join us as we explore the DMV's independent film scene next on Views and Vibes.
Did you know that in our world, 29,000 kids die each day from preventable causes?
Did you know a child is orphaned by AIDS every 15 seconds?
Every 15 seconds, millions of children.
Millions of children are missing a future.
What if we decided not to accept this anymore?
What if we gave children what they need to survive?
Medicines,
Food.
Education and protection.
There is no greater mission than helping children survive.
And there is no organization better able to do something about it than UNICEF.
UNICEF works in over 150 countries.
Saving kids' lives.
We can make a difference.
We can create a better future. Visit unicefusa.org or call 1-800-FOR-UNICEF.
The DMV is already well known for two M's, music and monuments. But what about movies? The area has been the backdrop for dozens of Hollywood's best films and TV shows. But the DMV is also known for its great treasure trove of talent. With a budding independent movie scene, the DC metropolitan area stands on the brink of becoming the next Tribeca. Joining us today to talk about this independent film scene are award-winning filmmaker and director Ryan Richmond, actor and star of the new independent film Torn, Walter Maxfield Jones, and a professor in the Performing and Fine Arts Department at Bowie State University, as well as the associate producer for Torn, Tewodross, Melchishua. I got it right, all right. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Hey, how you doing?
Thank you. I'm glad to have you guys here to talk about this independent film scene that we see is beginning to erupt in DC. Before we actually get into the details of the actual independent movie scene, I always like to start off asking artists one particular question. What movie, or in the case of Walter, what role do you wish that you had actually made or had a hand in making, or role that you would have liked to have played? Out of all the movies in history, what movie would have been, could have been your signature? Let's start with Ryan.
I think we were starting with Walter.
Don't run from the question, man. Don't run from the question.
Wow, that's a good question.
Of course it is.
I think one film that Black women love is Love Jones.
Right.
I would love to have had a hand in that.
Okay.
You know.
All right. Go ahead, Walter. What role?
I don't know, it's so diverse. There's so many roles that I would love to have played. I'd say it would either be like a blockbuster, like something that would be a tipping point for me, like Will Smith in Independence Day.
Okay.
Or, man, I grew up to Eddie Murphy, so I might say Boomerang.
Right. Okay. All right, that's a good one.
Okay, I'm gonna step out on the creative level.
There you go. There you go.
I'm gonna have to go with like an Avatar, because me and my background as far as animation and special effects and science fiction, that's kind of like what I'm drawn to right now.
Okay.
Maybe The Wiz, just you know, back up The Wiz. I have to throw that in real quick. So.
Well, what about what about this movie scene? What about getting prepared to step into the whole industry? What do you have to do to prepare yourself? You know, you're a professor at Bowie State. What do you tell your students, and how do you prepare to actually get into the whole industry?
Great question. You know, I think the first thing is being able to develop a story. You know, you have to have a story. That's the most important thing. And then being able to really articulate that. So, you know, a lot of times students want to focus on the filmmaking, the directing, but I think writing is one of the biggest issues, one of the few weak areas that we don't see a lot of people of color in. So I always try to encourage my students really to develop their skills in writing. I mean, I can overlap into theater, I can overlap into other areas, but really just being able to tell a story. I mean, it sounds so simple to be able to just articulate a story, beginning, middle, end, plot points, character development, etc. Right. So that's what the one area, and then all the other technical things, you know, with the filming and the editing and the cameras, all of that stuff can, you know, you can kind of pick that up, but you have to be able to tell a story. Most basic thing. And
Ryan, we know you've written, you know, different films, and you've worked on a number of different films, big budget films and everything. What drew you to the movie industry? Was it to be behind the camera? Was it to actually write produce films? Was it to be a director?
Well, as a kid, I was an actor, and I was a child actor in D.C. And I loved theater. I loved just performing, you know. But as I grew up, you know, the roles for young black males in high school would just dwindled. You know, I did all the arena stage, Kennedy Center, and so those roles just kind of dwindled, and we didn't have the capital to run it back and forth to New York. So I just started doing every other aspect of entertainment, interning in radio, TV, and what drew me the most was telling stories. And so I started up with photography, picked up a camera and just started shooting, and saw and realized how much you could tell with just one image, and went to school that way through photography and for film, and just kind of transitioned to cinematography, and then the experience doing that, you know, developing the storytelling of through motion images and seeing other people direct and produce projects gave me the confidence to step out there and direct myself. Okay.
Now, Walter, you know, you're acting. You're in Torn, you know, the great new independent film. What drew you into acting?
You know, life did. I used to people watch all the time. And also just my experiences at home, my family was full of comedians. And so I enjoyed making people laugh. I enjoyed acting things out. I was always involved in every church play, every school play, you name it, I was in it. And, you know, it's helping people escape even for a moment or for an hour what they're going through and being lost into the story that you're telling, or into the world that you're giving them at that moment. So that's what got me into it, and I just haven't stopped since.
Now, what kind of foundation do you actually need to be able to step into the industry?
You know, I think it's just about taking that leap of faith, really. I don't think that there's anything that's going to prepare you for it, because once you get into the industry, you realize it's nothing like what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that's entertainment overall.
It's just like anything that you do in life, you have to just decide to do it and start taking steps towards it. And that's really, one day I woke up, I said, I'm going to act, and I just started looking for projects to, you know, auditions, and I went out, and you know, you just like going to school or on the job training, you grow. You're not going to jump out and be the best actor. I thought I was great when I first started. But when I go back and look at some of the things that I did earlier, I was like, oh, it was just painful to watch. So it's just a matter of deciding to do it, jumping out there. And I would also just suggest to most actors, all actors, to take classes and get trained, hone their craft.
And does that actually help you break into the industry? You know, having that stronger foundation, taking classes, you know, starting on and saying arena stage, does that help you break into the industry? And why does it seem so hard to actually break into the industry?
Did you want
to? Well, I think any steps towards what you're doing is going to help. Yes. You know what I mean? Right. But there's no, for this game, it doesn't seem there's one set path. Right. You know what I mean? You can walk down the street, trip up over a producer, and then you the next star. You know. Exactly. But whereas we train and went to school and hone our craft, and we working forever to get where that other guy got. Right. You know what I mean? So there's no real set path. You know, it's just about, I think what you do have to do is you have to harden yourself up for this game and be prepared to take lumps along the way and just keep on going.
And I would add to that, you know, again, find your story, find your voice. You know, train and study and research. But you know, it's kind of ironic. Even though I'm teaching all this stuff, it's like you really don't have to have a degree to go and make a film. And given the state of things now, you know, how things have changed in the last 15 to 20 years. You know, you got YouTube and Vimeo, and everything's online, and folks are getting deals off of web series. You know, Anacostia and other things. So now I think it's just a matter of really networking and finding a community. I mean, right here in the DMV, and I'm going to include Baltimore also. A great community of actors and filmmakers and producers and editors. And so, you know, as any person, I would just say, find your story. You know, find folks who are doing it. You know, work on films, volunteer. You know, and that's kind of how, you know, I got involved with Frank Jackson and Scott Rainey with working with the project with Walter. It's just a community of us. We just help each other out. You know,
when we come back from the break, I want to actually talk about that actual community that we're in, you know, in the DMV in Baltimore. So we have to run to a real quick commercial. When we come back, I'm going to show you the trailer from the movie Torn.